Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of College Football Coast to Coast. Week 2 is upon us. We kind of took a sidestep from week 1 into week 2. Now we are into the real college football, Tyler. We had some good games week 1. A lot of changes happened in the poll in week 1. AP poll doesn't mean too much, but it does kind of give us an insight of what the rest of the season might look like. So a lot did happen in the AP poll, and we'll obviously get into that. Any notable takeaways from week 1?
Definitely some, obviously a lot of takeaways, especially Alabama's loss to Florida State. I think that was like the first time in quite some time that Alabama just dominated on both sides of the ball. And then we had three phenomenal top 10 matchups: Notre Dame and Miami, LSU, Clemson, and then Ohio State and Texas. I think overall takeaways, LSU's defense might be returning to its elite form back in the 2010s that we saw. It's obviously early. It's only week number 1. I guess time will tell, but that was my main takeaway throughout the week. That Alabama was definitely the most surprising, and LSU definitely turned some heads this past weekend.
Yeah. So with all of that, let's get into our AP Top 25 risers and fallers of the week. Tyler, let's go with our fallers first. Who's the big loser for you in the top 25 this week?
Yeah, the big loser is actually a team that started in Dublin, Ireland against Iowa State, and that is Kansas State. This is a team that I think a lot of people had as their Big 12 champion, and they are just not looking right, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They honestly should have lost to North Dakota this past weekend. Honestly, they got lucky to me that they even won that game. They only won it by like 2 points when they were favored by at least double digits. So I don't know what's happening. Avery Johnson just not playing how he was last season. It's just a very shaky offense, and the defense doesn't really look like that Kansas State defense that we have been prone to watching. So if you're keeping up with them in the AP Top 25 poll, well, they're not even in the poll anymore. They dropped from number 17 after their recent win over North Dakota. I mean, a win's a win nonetheless, but once you get into Big 12 play, especially with the way Iowa State, Utah's played, and even Bear looked good in their loss against Auburn. So I think Kansas State is honestly going to be at the bottom of the standings once the season's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, tough start to the season for them. In a bad way, kind of a slow start. We'll see what happens there with them. My faller for the week is you mentioned it off the top of the show, and for me, it's probably Alabama. Alabama with a big loss. I mean, I don't want to say I saw it coming, but I want to say I wanted it. I want to say that you and I talked about it, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if it was a close game and at Florida State give them a run for their money. But I didn't expect. I'll be honest. I did not expect them to get blown out at Florida State. Weather kind of played a factor in it as well. Played to Florida State's hands. They're playing at home. All the cards were in their favor that game. So it to me, Alabama just couldn't do anything. Offensively, not good. Miscues and Simpson just to me isn't what the Alabama past quarterbacks have been. I know Kalen DeBoer's taken a lot of heat, and it's early. We'll see what happens with Alabama, and we'll see if they make it into the playoff. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't make it in the playoff, but I mean, anything can happen. We know that. So early bad start for them, but let's get into our risers of the week, the more positive note of the top 25, and who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with LSU. Like I just mentioned at the top, I think that outside of Ohio State, they were more impressive. Now, I would have went with Ohio State, but I mean, they just went up 2 spots, and I think that they were deserving at the start of the preseason. Honestly, it shouldn't have been Texas. Number 1 should have just been Ohio State. I feel it's like if you win the national title and return the talent that you did, you should just be the number 1 team in the country. But LSU definitely earned my right for the riser of the week because they really dominated in that second half against a really elite Clemson defensive front. They were able to run the ball effectively. Caden Durham, especially in that second half, got it going. And then Garrett Nussmeier, he did have a slow start. So did Cade Klubnik. I mean, it feels like every quarterback throughout the country who was playing a big time game like this really struggled. So it was good to see Garrett Nussmeier get settled in. We saw Aaron Anderson make a couple of big catches in that defense, really step it up, especially in that fourth quarter. I think that Harold Perkins is a guy that we're going to continue to watch throughout the regular season. So LSU moving up to number 3 in the poll, even receiving some first place votes. They got 3 so far. So with another big time win next week against Florida, I could see this team even go up to the number 1 spot, because you could honestly argue after that they would have the best resume at that point. So obviously there's a long way to go, but LSU earns my right as a riser of the week.
Yeah, very well deserved for riser of the week for them. For me, I'm going to go back to the game that I just spoke about. My riser of the week is on the victorious side of last weekend, and that's Florida State. Mike Norvell, I saw his press conference, or not his speech to his guys before the game and everything, and they did exactly that. I mean, they dominated both sides of the ball, and several times in the game you could see him say one play at a time, and just never got too ahead of himself. Was a really good coaching performance, I think, the best of Mike Norvell's career by far. And I mean, Tommy Castellano looks like the guy. I mean, just moving
after what they had last year, DJU couldn't throw a fewer pass to save his life.
Yeah, and the way they talked about DJU, it was crazy, and they were all on him and like about how good he was and what he would bring to Florida State, and that just never happened. And now you've got a guy that transfers from BC, who was under Bill O'Brien. It comes here, and he's definitely made a name for himself now, and hopefully in the future with Florida State this season. They ran the ball fantastic. I mean, they ran the ball really well. I mean, that's all you could really do in the second half. I didn't see many passes in the second half because of the weather, obviously, that happened right before half. But it really, they dominated completely. Alabama just looked lost. I mean, that was the first time I can truthfully say that was the first time I've ever seen Alabama look lost on the field. So credit to Florida State. I mean, one heck of a game, and they went after them. I mean, and that's what you get for scheduling a big boy week 1, and you go out and you take care of business, and that means a lot now. I mean, from unranked to 14th is a huge jump, and hopefully the Noles can get back into contention back in the Jameis Winston days, and kind of hopefully get back to competing for the ACC. But let's go into our games of the week for week 2. We're going to start in the Big 12 Big 10 matchup. It's the in-state rivalry, of course, we see every year early in the season. That's Iowa State. Tyler, it seems like we talk about this game every season, and it's always either one team or the other. Like I feel like you notoriously pick Iowa, and I notoriously pick Iowa State, and we just go back and forth. But this game is going to be interesting. I think both teams, for the first time, have a little bit of offense, and they both have their defenses. I mean, they could not be any closer related, I think, this year than any other previous year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that going into this one, these are like the most complete that they have been, and feels like, in quite some time in this rivalry game. Iowa got the transfer quarterback from South Dakota State. He looked good in week number 1, but I mean, you played a cupcake in week number 1, so you won't really see until you head into this matchup. Iowa State has honestly impressed me by far the most. I had Utah, but I didn't have Iowa State in my Big 12 championship. I had some question marks, especially with losing guys like Jaden Higgins. Your best 2 wide receivers departed. But Rocco Beck, he's really been playing well through these past 2 weeks against Kansas State and then FCS opponent at home. So Iowa State, Iowa, there's only one thing that we talk about is like always take the under, because defense is always going to win the game. And I think that it could definitely happen, though I could see this be like a 24-21 type of game. I am high on Iowa heading into this Big Ten season. I don't have them in the Big Ten championship. That would just be preposterous to say. But I'm actually going to go with Iowa State. I know you mentioned I always pick Iowa in this game, but I really like the way that Iowa State has been playing. Rocco Beck, to pair it along with the running back position too. So I think this is going to be a back and forth game. Don't be surprised if it's like 14-7 going into the halftime with those defenses winning the day. But I'm going to go with Iowa State in their home crowd to get it done over the Hawkeyes. Not saying that Iowa, with the loss, their season is going to be over, but I think that Iowa State, with this win, could really boost their momentum because if you remember, they played Kansas State. They're already 1-0 in Big 12 play. So if they get this win against Iowa, this could be a top 15 team heading into conference play. Continue on.
Yeah, definitely it could be a very good start for Iowa State. I'm going to talk about Iowa for just a minute. The biggest thing that jumps out to me, we compare quarterbacks and such, and Iowa's never been a strong quarterback team. It's never been that way. They've relied on the defense. It looks like they're going to continue to rely on the defense, and they're going to rely on the run game. To me, it just seems like they're all in on the run game. Xavier Williams literally played the entire game for them against Albany. I mean, I don't think anybody else ever played. True freshman. Gets in there and kind of takes care of business because Mark Gronowski did nothing. I mean, virtually wasn't even on the field. 8 completions at 8 for 15 passing for 44 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, there's a lot left to be said about what's going to happen there with them because it just seemed like there's not a lot on the resume right now to say that they're any good. I don't know. To me, Iowa State, like you said, best resume out there. Rockobeck seems like he's been there for years. It's kind of the Cam Rising type story. But yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but I think they could get to the over in this game.
I can see it. This would be the year to do it.
I mean, out of any year, we've seen the over under as low as like 34.5 points. But this year it's 43.5 right now. And I think you could get there. I think you could have these two teams do that. If Iowa State makes Iowa one-dimensional, I think Iowa State can run away with this game, especially in Ames. So I agree with you. I'm going to take Iowa State. I think they're going to make themselves right into the top 15 and be in a good spot for Big 12 contention. Let's move into our next game here. It is kind of an odd one. It's Big 12 SEC. Arizona State, your playoff team last year, they're headed to Starkville to face the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Caught myself. I almost said Ole Miss. Yeah, this game to me is quite intriguing. I think both of us. Arizona State hasn't impressed me to start the year whatsoever. Mississippi State, same deal, hasn't impressed me. They're all right. I mean, they played Southern Miss week 1, and I thought Southern Miss put up a pretty good fight in the first half. Second half, just I think talent ran away with that one. And Mississippi State looks okay. But I don't know what your thoughts in this game are. Running games definitely changed for Arizona State. Sam Levitt's having to do, I think, a little bit more in the receiving game. And to Mississippi State's credit, I think they're pretty balanced on defense. Their secondary's one of the better in the SEC. I think their defensive line holds them back. I mean, let's see what the defensive line does this year. So I'm interested to see what happens in this game. I mean, if Mississippi State takes this win, it's big on their resume considering where Arizona State's in the poll, and not so much on talent right now.
Yeah, we saw this matchup a year ago when Arizona State headed into the break up 30-3 and ended up being a 30-23 victory for the Sun Devils. So that was the most talented team that Arizona State has had in a while. And like you mentioned, wasn't really too much impressed with both Arizona State and Mississippi State. I mean, Arizona State did win 38-19 against Northern Arizona. But at times in that game, the offense just looked pretty vanilla. You just saw, like, maybe they weren't showing too much of Mississippi State, but you really are going to feel the effects of a guy like Cam Scatterby. You saw Boise State without Ashton Genty. I mean, their offense couldn't even move the ball whatsoever. So I think Sam Levitt is definitely going to have a phenomenal game if Arizona State is going to want to win this one. Mississippi State's defense needs to improve in this game because they were able to lock down Southern Miss. After you mentioned it was 13-10 heading into the break, and Mississippi State's defense really rose to the occasion in the second half. That performance needs to happen. And the run game, too, with Booth and Fluff Bothwell coming from South Alabama. Bothwell, he scored 2 touchdowns. Booth scored 2 touchdowns as well. So I think Mississippi State is going to rely on the run game because, to be honest with you, I haven't been a fan of Blake Shapen, both at Baylor and now at Mississippi State. So I think Mississippi State is going to want to win this game. The defensive front has to step up for them, and the running game needs to continue going. With that being said, at the preseason, this was one of my upset picks. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to actually pull this one out. I think it's just a road trip that's going to get to Arizona State. You know, Mississippi State had to do it last year. You feel the effects in the first half. They're able to come back. Going into that stadium, hearing those over 62,000 cowbells being ringing in your ear for 3 hours is going to annoy the hell out of Arizona State. And if you saw like all over social media, they had like this one girl like ringing like 2 cowbells. Like that's going to help. So I think that this is going to be a close game, a grudge match, but I think Mississippi State wins this one. I'll say 31-24. So a similar final score that we saw last year, but I think that the Dogs, wearing all black at home, will get this one done at home and like you mentioned, put a win on their resume that can really get them going. Because let me tell you, their SEC schedule is absolutely rough. So they better get some wins now if they want to get to bowl eligible this season.
Yeah, I mean I think that's their biggest goal this year is to make bowl eligibility and just compete in the SEC. For me, I'm going to go the other direction. The first disagreement of the season, by the way.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Arizona State, and here's why. I just don't have enough belief in the Mississippi State front seven. I can't say for sure that they're going to get to Sam Leavitt. And if they do, we've seen it. Sam Leavitt can get out of the pocket, and he can take off. I mean, his legs, I think, are going to be a very big factor in this game. If they clear out and he's got space, he's going to take it. I mean, I think you could see big rushing totals from Sam Leavitt in this game just based on the fact of a weak D-line or front seven entirely. And the secondary having to play traditional Mississippi State, I would call man-to-man. I mean, they pretty much lock up man-to-man most of the time. So I see this probably being around your score, I would say. But, I mean, I'm going to have it really close. I mean, 31-28, I think, is the final there. But I think late, I trust Arizona State right now. And if they get out to a big lead, we saw last year Mississippi State was so close to coming back. It just wasn't enough. I mean, we'll see what happens. That's a really tough game. I mean, a ranked versus unranked in that situation. Environment's going to be everything for that matchup. Let's run over to our last game of the slate here that we have for our 3 games. This is probably the most intriguing game of the week. Everybody's kind of tuned into this one, plugged in. That's Michigan going on the road to Norman, Oklahoma to face off against the Sooners. I have big question marks on Michigan being number 15 in the country. You are higher in the poll, but the betting odds are not in your favor. So I think Oklahoma, the home environment, number 1 is going to be huge. 2 is little experience from Michigan, especially at quarterback, new young guy, with Underwood, supposed to be really good, So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is the first game that he's going to have to prove himself and figure it out. Michigan's defense, are they going to step up? Some big games down the stretch, you've seen them give up a lot of points. Oklahoma, no stranger to putting points up on the board. I think this could be a shootout. And I trust Oklahoma to win in a shootout. I mean, they can score points all day long. So I would say that Oklahoma is going to be fine in this game. I'm going to go 38-21. I think 17 points is nothing out of this world for this game to finish at.
Wow. So pretty much a blowout by Oklahoma in a statement to start this season. But yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think that Bryce Underwood, this is like his first road start. And how did that go for everybody else? Arch Manning did not do so well. And so we're going to see how Bryce Underwood goes into Norman, Oklahoma, because this is going to be a very hostile environment. This honestly is Oklahoma's biggest game in quite some time, probably since last season when they upset Alabama, and that game wasn't even close. But I think both teams didn't really show too much in week number 1. Oklahoma did win convincingly, but I just didn't think that they showed enough because John Mateer, he threw it all over, but they put in the backups in the start of the second half. So I think John Mateer, You hear from everybody that's like a preseason like Heisman favorite coming from Washington State. So this is an offense that I think is really going to make a statement here in week number 2. I think that Bryce Underwood, he's a great quarterback and all, but I think that the limited experience here is going to not really negate him, but I think that it is going to play a factor into this game. I'm going to pick Oklahoma too. I'm not going to say a 17-point differential, but I think that Oklahoma's defense could definitely bog down Bryce Underwood in that passing attack for the Wolverines. Because Michigan, I mean, they won 34-17 against New Mexico in week number 1. I mean, I was, looking for more, but I mean, it's week number 1. So we'll see how Michigan's defense does against John Mateer, because John Mateer is definitely one of those elite dual threat quarterbacks. So I'm going to go Oklahoma in this one, 31-28. I think it's going to be a very close ball game, back and forth. But I think that the Sooners defense, they were able to attack the transfer portal this season. I think that's really going to flourish under Brent Venables. And this is a game that whoever wins could really be set up to win their respective conference, potentially, the way that their schedule really sets up. But I am going to go with Oklahoma. The theme has been just to pick the home teams here. We'll see if it works out. But I'm going to go with the Sooners in this SEC versus Big Ten showdown.
Yeah, so those are our games. Three good games there that could go any which way in that one. That was kind of the goal of picking those games. Some good ones that could shake out in any which way. Let's get into our best bets of the week, Tyler. So we'll close out with our best bets. We both have 2 good bets for you guys for the week. Tyler, let's lead it off, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go to our first SEC conference battle between number 20 Ole Miss and Kentucky. If you remember last year, Kentucky actually went on the road to Oxford and pulled off the upset, and this loss really kept Ole Miss out of the playoff last season. They ended up losing to both LSU and Florida, but it felt like if they didn't lose to Kentucky, they would have been in the playoff at 10-2, and they would have been a dangerous team. But looking at Ole Miss's spread, they are 8.5. Just give me that. I think that this is just a revenge game. This just feels like it doesn't matter how many points Ole Miss wants to score. Lane Kiffin and these boys want to beat Kentucky by 70, the way that they were embarrassed last season. And to be honest with you, Kentucky is going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC. If you can barely beat Toledo at home, and you have a guy like Zach Calzada, who has been in college football, it feels like, for a decade at this point. He started at Texas A&M. He went to Incarnate Word, and now he finds himself at Kentucky. The problem is Kentucky's defense isn't like how it was last year when you had first-round talent at the cornerback position led by Maxwell Hairston, and Ole Miss led by Austin Simmons, and still a very good offense and a very good defense. So I think that this is just a complete mismatch. Give me Ole Miss 8.5. I think they win at least by 14.
Yeah, I mean, that one seems pretty one-sided in that matchup for an SEC matchup in week 2. That's kind of wild. I'm going to jump over this is a little interesting game. I'm going to go Troy and Clemson. Clemson is the 31.5-point favorite at home. Clemson did not look very good on offense last week against LSU. I think that continues. I'm going to take Troy to cover the 31.5. Just seems like too many points. I don't even have belief that Clemson can put up 31.5 points. I don't think they can put up 32 points and hold Troy to 0. It just doesn't seem like that that kind of season and that kind of team. I get, Troy starts the season against Nichols. Really, there's no competition-wise. It's very different from Clemson.
That game, they were down like 17-7 at one point, and Troy had to score like 21 to 28 points to even win that game. So
yeah, I mean, winning 38-20, winning by 18 points, being down is pretty wild. But they look really good. Their running back, I mean, their running game has always been really good, but Tay Meadows, incredible. 186 yards on the ground. When you're averaging 8 yards a carry on 23 carries, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. Cade Klubnik has not impressed me to start the season. I can't say for sure that he's going to impress me in this game. So I'm going to take Troy to cover that 31.5. Just too many points for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, too, because it feels like every time Troy plays a Power 4, it feels like they always keep it closer than the experts think, and potentially sometimes they even win the damn thing. Just look at 2017 of what happened. But I'm going to go to an SEC versus ACC battle for my best bet. We saw this matchup last year, and everybody was picking the Hokies and Vanderbilt actually took them down. Like really jump started Diego Pavia's like I don't give a frick tour. It feels like in 2024, but the Hokies this time they are 2.5. I'm actually going to take the Hokies as bad as they looked in week number 1 against South Carolina. So I'm going to go with, I mean, you give me a field goal at home in Lane Stadium. It is a night game. So this is a very hostile environment that Vanderbilt's walking into. I feel like this might bite me in the butt because you have Diego Pavia on the other side, and you just know that he's just going to want to beat Virginia Tech. But I'm going to go with the Hokies just because of the environment. I mean, Lane Stadium, Inner Sandman. As bad as Virginia Tech looked, but on offense especially, I mean, they kicked 2 field goals and had a safety. So it couldn't get much worse than that against Vanderbilt. So I think Virginia Tech gets this one done, but it's going to be very, very close. But I think they win at least by 2.5. So take the Hokies.
There you go. Hokies with a big win there, hopefully. I'm going to go Big Ten ACC matchup, and I'm going to pick an upset. Illinois on the road at Duke. Illinois just seems at 11. That's way too high. I think Duke gets a huge win here at home. Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite on the road. I would take Duke plus the points in that, and I think that they're going to get it done. 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN. I think that'll be a really good game there. Duke's offense looks really good early in the season. I know they struggled in the past with that, but they look really good. I mean, Altmaier looks good too as well. But for a Duke quarterback to put up, almost 400 yards in any game, I don't care who you're playing, is a ton of points. 389 yards and 3 touchdowns is pretty wild. So I think Duke's going to be a dark horse in the ACC this year potentially.
The ACC is going to be a conference to watch, especially if Florida State plays the way that they did in Miami. Yes. This is going to be a conference to watch, folks.
So those are our best bets of the week, and that is all for our week 2 show. Hopefully you have a good time watching football all weekend long. A lot of good games, some snoozers in there, but there's some good ones. So enjoy the weekend, enjoy some college football. We will be back for week 3. See you guys then.